crossover episode. We bring in Locked On Sharks to preview the Sharks game on Tuesday night at Little Caesars Arena.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. I'm your host, Brian Fisher. With me today, as always, is the other host, Scotty Bentley, also host at Locked On Tigers. And joining us today is the host of Locked On Sharks, JD Young, Eklund approved, as his Twitter bio says. How you doing, JD?
Doing well, man. It's been a while since the Sharks Red Wings have played a game together, so yeah, looking forward to this one.
It's been long that this is my first crossover episode. So what a way to break it in with the Sharks, the content boys,
as
baby. They're self-proclaimed. I mean, it's true. Nothing gets me better than your guys' now that you had the one time where it was just the toilet flushing.
The toilet flushing is the best. It's the best now in any sport in network history. I stand by it.
Yeah, that one. It was. Yeah, that was. They blew a 3-goal lead to Vegas last year and that I think that would best exemplified how that Sharks season went, where you just want to flush it down the toilet and get to the draft. So
yeah, absolutely.
We've been there quite a lot. So
yes.
Maybe for once, maybe this year will be the first year they don't have a top 10 draft pick. And I don't know how to feel about that. But a step forward for this team for sure this year. Seems that way for the Sharks as well, as we do a crossover episode with Locked On Sharks. And I was looking at the standings before we got to this because, I focus mostly on the Atlantic Division. Go figure, that's the division the Red Wings are in. And the Sharks and the Red Wings are in a very similar position standings-wise. Now, technically, the Sharks are 6th in their division, playing in a very tough Pacific Division, but they have more points than the Red Wings by 2. And I guess my number one question is how big of a step forward do you think that the Sharks have taken this year? And because we debate this all the time, it's great to have a step forward, but was it the right time? Was it worth it in the end? When, how much more your team may need?
Yeah, and I think that's been the question for the Sharks kind of all season, right? Of course, ownership, well, not really ownership, but the management comes out and they want to say hey, we want to make the playoffs. We feel good about our bones, our core, and especially when you have guys like Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson and Logan Couture and Hertl and some of these guys who are a little bit older, and it's you want to try to maybe one last ride with these guys. And you know how it is, you get in the playoffs and anything can happen. But, the Sharks, they went out and they kind of made those moves this offseason, right? They signed James Reimer. They traded for Adin Hill. They signed Nick Bonino and Andrew Cogliano to kind of just shore up that bottom 6 to just have NHL caliber guys compared to what they've been running out the past couple of years. But it's still it feels like this team, anytime they play anybody of any merit, like the Penguins on Sunday, they just get the doors blown off them. I mean, not as bad as what happened. The Sharks, they gave up 4 goals in the first 6 minutes and they were able to scrap their way back into that game and make it a game. But it's just anytime they play these good caliber teams, they just show that this team's not ready. So, it's one of those things do you want to maybe take the Red Wings approach where it's if you're going to try to reboot or whatever, actually go ahead and reboot and try to get these good draft picks and
have a historically bad season and then get saved by a pandemic.
Yes. And, but it's you see with the Red Wings where it's going to be paying off here really soon, right? Where it's you have guys making an impact right now in Seider and Lucas Raymond. And then you've got guys coming, that are going to help kind of build this new core with the team. So, and that's what Kyle and I have been maybe it's just time to do that now. So
sure. I think one of the interesting things that we're both pretty near each other in the standings as far as the entire outlook of the NHL. And it's the Red Wings are in a weird place where it's it's just wild inconsistency across like we've played really good teams really well and beaten some damn good teams.
Edmonton,
and then we've
Boston, Washington,
right,
Vegas.
And then we've lost to like cellar dwellers, and
Yeah.
and it's like this weird like
Twice.
right. Like we got the absolute doors blown off us by Montreal twice, like Brian said, and it's just this weird like you guys have this a pretty healthy balance of youth and veteran presence within your roster, and like some young players and some kind of older players, whereas the Wings are just like not all, but a large, it's
Majority.
a really young roster.
Their average age, I think, is 28 years old, which is incredibly young for a roster.
Yeah.
And that causes that like we're not at a point where we're beating bad teams, losing to good teams. We're just like some nights
you never
we have
know what
it,
you're gonna get. Yeah.
and some nights we don't, and it's just a complete grab bag of a mystery every time puck drops.
Yeah, and I think that's what you expect with a really young team too, where it's just like they don't know how to win consistently. And I think that's where the Sharks, like, you have guys like Couture and Hertl and Brent Burns and Eric Carl, like these guys who've seen it and done it all, and like that's where you're gonna, I think, get those more consistent nights. I mean, but then like I said, they just don't have the talent to match up to some of these higher end teams. And the Sharks they've had to play a lot of young guys this year. I think they've, at one point when they had the COVID outbreak, and the NHL, of course, they don't want to stop it for the Sharks. Those guys, they're on the West Coast, nobody cares about them, but they're running out like 10 guys who are under the age of 23 at one point, and it's like it was Brent Burns on the power play with a bunch of children at some, but like, but it's just like it sucks right now, but that's good experience for these guys. And then like, that's how you learn to win and stuff. And then when you try to make those playoff pushes later, it's that these little experiences they're just those building blocks that make you into a championship team, hopefully.
Well, and the one thing I've noticed with the Sharks, and it's kind of gotten the fervor of social media, is the resurgent season that Erik Karlsson has had. And last I had checked, he was dead in the water. Everyone, especially Sharks fans, were dreading the contract that he was given and how it was going to be just, dead cap space by the end of his career if he didn't get bought out before that. But here he comes this year. He's got, I think, 27 points in 29 games. He's looked really solid. I mean, he looks like he's having a resurgence of that offensive defenseman that, they signed him to be all those years ago. And I guess my question now is like, why is now he suddenly back to form?
I think he's fully healthy, right? So the 18-19 season when, the Sharks traded for him, he famously tore his groin, and like he tried to play through it, and he kind of the back end of the season, he missed a lot of the time, came back for the playoffs, and he tried to play through it. And, the famous joke is he had a PPG on half a PP. Like that's like during the playoff run.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But like,
That's nice.
Then he came back the next year and the team just wasn't the same. And like he was, like that shortened season, he broke his thumb, and they kind of just like pulled him. And then like last year, you could see the flashes, but the defense just wasn't there. But this year, like, I feel like he's fully healthy. He stayed in San Jose this offseason and trained with the team, like with the teammates when they had the, the captain's ice and stuff like that. But like, I think just him being fully healthy. I just think also just having more competent players. Like you could see where he was trying to make passes and having a guy, like just more competent players on the ice instead of like, just name your random AHL guy who's stuck out there at the time, like just having those guys on the ice and being able to like finish stuff. And then that's what leads to the points. And you could just see too, just his confidence of like, oh, I'm still healthy. I can still make these moves that he wasn't able to make a couple of years ago, where he just like dekes somebody and just takes out, through the neutral zone and starts the rush. And, it's been nice to see him. And Kyle and I we've always believed in you, Erik Karlsson. And it's just nice to see, he's an outside
beautiful
Norris
vindication.
Candidate. Yeah. The outside Norris candidacy right now is something nice to see.
Right behind Moritz Seider. I get it.
Right behind him.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
What you have to use just a smidge of is Primal Origin oils. Got beard, get Primal. You heard me right. Just a little bit of oil on your palms will make that beard silky smooth. I know from personal experience. Maybe you're that guy who has never considered the benefits of treating your beard with product. Primal Origin oils will stop the itch and make your beard look healthy and groomed. The products are free from harmful synthetic ingredients and with low impact on our planet. Primal Origin oils makes balms, oils, and whipped butter that are renowned as the best feel in beard products available. All products are fair trade certified and handcrafted in the United States of America. The combo kits make a great holiday gift, and if you're shopping for yourself, you'll be glad you did. Now, JD, I have ranted and I've raved about how much I've been loving the Primal Origin oils, and I can't help but notice you're also the owner of a really nice beard.
Thank you. You know what helps?
What helps?
It's that whipped butter. Makes it nice and, gets rid of the dandruff. It makes it less itchy, and it smells like cookies. And Mrs. Young enjoys that. So,
we got to get Mrs. Young on the podcast so we can confirm that.
Brian's just happy he finally has someone he can talk beard stuff with.
Yeah, I've never had that.
Happy. Yeah, you haven't. You're right. Never. You have never had that for sure.
We know that every company claims to have the best, but Primal Origin Oils challenges you to compare their ingredients and the feel in beard to the other products you've used. We promise you will see and feel the difference. Remember, the code LOCKEDON gets you 20% off at primaloriginoils.com. Use the code LOCKEDON and check out for 20% off.
Digging into tonight's game. So it's going to be interesting with the Sharks because, they got the doors blown out on the first period against the Penguins. So, and they're going to start getting some guys back. Lord Jasper Weatherby is going to be making his return, the fourth line center for the Sharks. But Bob Bugner has already come out and said he's going to try to mix up the pairings. Mario Ferraro is still out. He's on the COVID list, but the big question I think is going to be Vlasic, who's been a stalwart in the Sharks defense for many years, but has just fallen off a cliff the past couple of years. And I think this might be the game where he sees the press box, especially with, they have Ryan Merkley on the taxi squad, and it just might be time to pull out the Band-Aid and have that right side of Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson, Mario Ferraro, and just let him ride.
I think we have come to such a with Blashill. Blashill's like the CEO of line
juggling.
Yeah, like mixing and juggling around lines, and so much so that he'll just switch up lines like mid game. Like it'll be like halfway through the second, and they'll just the lines will just be different. You're like, oh yeah, this is right. I guess Phillips Zadina is a third liner now. That's kind of crazy.
Probably so.
Yeah, for real.
Except that practice he was in second line today, but
dog, every day of the week is on a different line. And so it's interesting to game plan against, right? I think that's one of the weirdest things with a head coach that does that, or just with the situation that you guys are put in where that kind of has to happen. The game planning against then becomes so, because all our defensive pairings, at least when healthy, have been pretty solid and solidified.
I'd say consistent. I don't know about solid.
Solid in the sense of the names you're seeing, not solid in the sense of production for sure.
You got one defenseman who's number one D-man, and then you got he who shall not be named.
Danny DeKaiser. Hell yeah. Sharing a line with Mo Seider. It's a great time. But I to the original point, I just think it's interesting the difference of game planning when you know who you're going to see versus a complete kind of free-for-all, to be honest with you, of names that are just going to be kind of pulled out of a hat.
Yeah, and especially with two teams who don't play each other very often,
right.
It's like, if you're playing a division foe or you're playing teams that you play a lot, where it's you can kind of what you're expecting, but I think there's what's going to make this game kind of fun is for Sharks fans, we haven't seen the Red Wings in 2+ years now. It's been a while. It's been a while, and even the team that they saw last time is completely different than what we saw, what we're going to see tonight. So, as a Sharks fans, what should we be looking for with the Red Wings? Who are the guys to look out for?
Well, the rookies is the big one, but as far as production, one of the biggest things on the year has been, it's not quite as dramatic as it used to be because our depth is a little bit better, but for the most part, you shut down the top line, you have a pretty damn good chance of winning the game. And the top line has been unbelievably productive when healthy. The Bertuzzi, Larkin, and Raymond top line has been, I mean, for real, and until the shutdown, was one of the more productive lines in all of hockey.
On December 18th, JD, Dylan Larkin scored a hat trick. Tyler Bertuzzi had 2 goals, and Lucas Raymond had 3 assists. Like that top line,
yeah.
That top line is the entire offense for the Detroit Red Wings. And like Scotty was saying, like the second line's okay. Hugh Suter's a dependable second liner. Robbie Fabry, will show flashes.
Just got paid.
Paid. Got a contract in the middle of the season. Stay here for a couple more years.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's a great story. I'm always a big supporter of Robbie Fabry. Vladimir Mesnikov, I think, is honestly, he's 5th on the team in scoring. He's having a sneaky good season, and he's a guy who's a middle 6'4". Scotty and I just talked about him yesterday. Like, he is really a really good forward to put on the third line because he dominates on the third line, and on the second line, he's still consistent. It's just the only problem with putting him on the second line is him finding the chemistry with Hugh Suter and
your whole
Robbie
depth
Fabry.
is just
your depth's
down
different.
A little bit, right? But it really is at the end of the day. If the first line is productive, I mean the again and like we talked about in segment 1, the first line has been productive against some of the best teams in the league. But also, like, we lost to the Coyotes in overtime.
God.
And it was because the top line didn't do anything. So
I'd forgotten about that. Thank you, Scotty.
Nothing happened. And that, you know what I mean? Like, it really is. I don't even know if there's like a specific game plan against it or what. It's just simply, if the top line's feeling it and producing, we're in for a good night. If they're not, it could be a long one for us and a pretty darn good one for y'all.
Yeah, and I think that's where, like, the top line of the Sharks, where it's that Couture, Meier, and then it's been Dahlin or Barabanov. Again, we don't know what the lines are because Bob Bugner said he's going to change them up. But that Couture, Meier, Dahlin has kind of been the top line, and they've been just, very productive as well. And especially with the way Timo Meier has been playing this season, where he's been at 31 points so far, and I think this is game 32 or 33. So he's been basically a point per player game, and he got benched against the Flyers and then responded with a three primary assists against the Penguins. So I expect Timo time tonight I think there's gonna be a lot of Timo time tonight, just the way he's been playing and just that physical, like, I'm gonna drive to the net and there's nothing that you can do to stop me type of guy. And I'm
Tyler Bertuzzi.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know if the Red Wings defense is just going to be able to have an answer for.
They have an answer.
Oh, yeah.
They have one.
They have one answer.
It depends on what side he's going to come from, to be honest with you. That'll determine whether we have an answer or not.
It depends if he's on the ice at that time. But
right,
we have one answer.
We have one answer. A big, burly, physical kid at there that it's so ridiculous. Like, it truly is watching the defense and watching Mo Seider just dominate.
Put it
like whatever, back. Like anything, and then anybody that goes to the Kaiser side, it's just like a free line to the net. You're like, all right, like that's fun. But
did you see any of the social media rounds of Moritz Seider the last 2 days? The Wings lost both games this past weekend, but he had an incredibly great game from a physical standpoint. I mean, he's 21 years old, and he's just bodying grown-ass men who are trying to hit him, and he's just counter-hitting. People keep trying to challenge him, and he, honestly, to this point, Seider hadn't really been as physical as we had seen. Like, I talked about it last night again with Scotty. Moritz Seider was advertised to us like these past 2 years through social media as like this big physical defenseman, and he's big. And he's very good at defense, and he has a sneaky good offensive upside. But we hadn't really seen any of the big hits that we had seen until the last 2 games. And he has been like confidently laying out the body, confidently bullying grown-ass men out there the last 2 days. And it's just, I mean, don't want to. Scotty and I have done it plenty of times.
Yeah.
But Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider, man, there's a reason why they're in the top, consistently in the top 3 in these early polls for Calder Trophy voting, because they have been such a dominant force. Lucas Raymond, a little bit more of a surprising season, I think, than Moritz Seider has been, because Moritz Seider's been as advertised. Like, we knew coming over he'd be the number 1 defenseman right off the bat. But he has just been so consistently good. He's top minutes every single game, 25+ minutes. The problem is like we were joking about a couple minutes ago, that's one answer.
One
and
answer, yeah.
The rest of your defense, like Nick Leddy's been okay. He's been playing second pair minutes. Filip Hronek's been okay playing second pair minutes. He's usually the guy who gets, if it's not Moritz Seider, it's Filip Hronek getting the most minutes every night. But outside of that, Troy Stetcher's been injured. So you have Jordan Osterley, who's, playing every single day. And he's just, he's a fill-in. Dan Renouf occasionally gets called up. I won't talk bad about Dan Renouf because Scotty loves him.
Watch yourself.
But there's just not a lot of depth outside of the top offensive line and Moritz Seider to really depend on. And that's why this team has so much wild inconsistency along with being young is while they're showing great progress and they've taken massive steps forward, it's just that the pieces aren't all there yet. And it's going to come. Like I'm not like, I didn't expect them to make the playoffs this year anyways. So Scotty and I just always are like the massive step forward they took this year wasn't expected. So we're going to be happy either way. Yeah. But there's definitely still some pieces to be filled before we can confidently say a night in, night out, like, oh, playoff contender.
Yeah. So then I expect that Hertl line should eat that second line there where, no offense, but Hertl is way better than Pius Suter's type. Like, so that
you're
line
not offending anyone here with that.
Tomas Hertl, who's been on a hot streak. I think he just had his point streak. I think like an 8-game point streak that was just ended against the Penguins, which is kind of crazy when you score 5 goals and you're the 2 seed and you don't get a point in that game. But so yeah, I expect him and if him and Barabanov, they've had some really nice chemistry this year. Hertl can play that really physical game, and then Barabanov, who they picked up or they traded from the Leafs, who he wasn't doing, just kind of getting constantly scratched, but he's been a really nice diamond in the rough type of guy for the Sharks, where his vision and the way he's able to find open guys, it's really, really kind of outstanding compared to what, the guy who was basically free from the Leafs. And, I think those two guys work really well together. They're still trying to find that third guy on that line. I think Noah Gregor's been playing on there, and he provides a speed element, but just doesn't have the accuracy when he shoots. So yeah, I think that second line is going to be really important tonight for the Sharks.
You mentioned Thomas Hertl and him being a better option at second center than Pius Suter, and that actually reminded me we had a guest on a couple weeks ago in Jake Rivard, a writer for Winging in Motown, and he was talking about his articles he had written about the 3 possible steps the Wings could take this next offseason. And the one thing he brought up is the option of bringing Thomas Hertl in as a replacement for Pius Suter. How are you feeling confident-wise that Thomas Hertl will return to the San Jose Sharks after this offseason?
Well, it's going to be tough because, Tomas Hertl, he is kind of going to be the belle of the ball at the trade deadline, right? If the Sharks, if they kind of peter out and, they realize that they're not going to, they're going to be able to get a haul for him, right? Who wouldn't want to add arguably the best 2C in the league, right? If you're, the Colorado or whoever it is, right? And you're not going to have to pay much for him to contract wise. I think his contract's it's less than $6 million a year. And of course the Sharks are going to eat half of that just to, to be able to help out and facilitate the trade. If you can get a first round pick and one of the top 2 or 3 prospects on it, from a team and plus whatever else, it's going to be really enticing. But I mean, Tomas Hertl is my favorite Shark right now. He is, he's just so much fun to watch play, and just the energy, and he's always happy and smiling. And, it's the way the Sharks are trending this year. I think it might be one of those things where it's for the good of the franchise. If you really, really want to reboot and try to get a brand, this new core in, trading Tomas Hertl isn't the worst thing in the world, because you're going to get, if you're the Avs, what if you get Bowen Byram from the Avs and plus a first round pick, and it's you pair him with Eklund and then you're ready to go. And then then the Sharks are probably gonna have a top 10 pick this year in a very deep draft class. There's your 3 pieces right there. So yeah, I would say I'm at 40% that Hertl will be back next year or so.
What score prediction for tonight? Lay it out.
Let's see. James Reimer's going to start. He played abysmally against the Penguins, so I think he bounces back big tonight. And I think the Sharks win. I'm going to go 3-2, the most generic hockey score ever. Give me a goal from Timo Meier too. So
that's strange because I, for some reason, think the Red Wings are going to win. Wild. No, I think that Red Wings are not the last 2 games, but the Red Wings are historically this season better on home ice by a lot. And I think coming back from 13 days off and losing the first 2 games is going to light a fire under their ass. And I think Lucas Raymond, who's been quiet last 2 games, is going to pop 2 in the back of that. I think they honestly went 4-2 and hit the over.
Wow. I was going to say 4-2 as well for the Wings. Mine was more of just like how often, like empty netters, somebody will pull the goalie and get a nice little empty netter there. I think who's going to score, man?
If you don't say Giovanni Smith, man,
that's the king. That's the dog. Man, honestly, I'm gonna go with it just because if Giovanni Smith does end up scoring, that would make me an incredibly happy human being. So we'll just go with that.
No risk it, no biscuit, right? So
yeah, exactly. Gotta risk it.
All right,
I'll go with Giovanni. Hell yeah,
JD. I have another question for you, and I have to ask this one because Scotty and I promised that we would ask every single guest we have on this question from here until the end of time.
Don't let me down.
Have you ever heard of the saying, or the riddle that is, the horse's name was Friday?
No.
I love you. Thank you, JD. You know what? You're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
You want to set up the riddle, buddy, because you got to say the whole thing every time.
Dog. It's like the somebody rides into town on a Friday. He leaves 2 days later. It's still Friday. Oh, the horse's name was Friday.
Got it.
This is like my entire childhood was us just like saying this riddle and like making it. It was like it turned into a joke where like anytime a horse was brought up, we were like, oh yeah, the horse. And for whatever reason, it first started because I said it. Brian was like, oh, the team's got to get back on the horse. And then I said that and he was like, what? And I was like, what do you mean what? You've never heard of that? And he's like, no. So started this big debate between us about whether it was a well-known saying or not.
It is not. As someone who's lived like multiple places across the country, yeah, I've lived all up and down the East Coast, up and down the West Coast. I've traveled all throughout the country. I think I've been like 35 of the 50 states, and I've never ever heard that joke before. So
that's
So when we had Tony, it became an inside joke, and now we'll just every once in a while say the horse's name's Friday. And we had Tony Ferrari on, who I'm sure you know who Tony Ferrari is.
He's been on the Locked On Sharks.
Yeah,
super well-known guy.
Sharks guy too.
Yeah. We asked him, and he didn't know what it was either. And we posted that clip on the social media, and I caught all kinds of heat for not knowing what this is. And so
rightfully
Scotty
so.
and I made an agreement. Anytime we had a guest on, we would ask. And so far, Scotty is now 0 for 3 on asking people because myself,
has nobody said yes?
Nobody on our show, myself, Tony Ferrari, and now JD have all said no to knowing about the riddle. The horse named Friday.
I feel like somebody said yes, and you're just gaslighting me.
I'm not gaslighting you.
I feel like somebody said yes.
Oh, it was you. You said yes.
Yeah, right. Maybe I'm just thinking of.
He's counting himself.
Maybe I'm just thinking of Twitter.
Well, I mean, you counted yourself, so.
Well, he asked me. He can't ask himself. He already knows.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Why you want to count me out? You're 0 for 2 still. That's not a good batting average either, buddy.
Man, I feel like somebody said yes, and I can't remember who.
Everyone on social media said yes, but they're not. They don't. Their opinions don't. Well, I'm not going to say that because.
Go ahead, say that. Say that. That's a good thing to say for sure.
Good luck on that one. Yes.
It'll come to me.
What's it like having the second best uniforms in the league?
Who are you saying behind the Red Wings?
Yeah, well, obviously behind the Red Wings.
I mean, well, they could be number one if they wore their heritage jerseys all the time. But
good.
Yes, they're so good. And of course, like one thing about it, like especially last year, where it's like, you basically didn't have fans in the stands all year for their 30th anniversary. 2021, the beginning of the season was still part of the 30th year. Like we can't pull them out at least like once, and we got to wear the black stealth jerseys. So the Sharks before the Flyers game, the Sharks were 0 for 5 in the stealth jerseys this year. It was like people like thought they were legitimately cursed, and you have these beautiful stealth jerseys or heritage jerseys that you could be wearing all the time, and but no, we gotta pull out reverse retros, which were garbage jerseys, and the stealth jerseys
were horrible.
one of the
Our reverse
laziest in the league.
retros were horrific, man.
White with a gray stripe. How is that reverse or retro?
It was so bad.
But
like
honestly,
with the Shark, you couldn't even see the numbers like on the back. Like when they were on the ice, you couldn't even see the numbers like with the reverse retros. It was like, oh, I think that's Barabanov, or it could be Balsers, or it could I don't know who that. It's just it's like the only you could tell is like, oh, that's Karlsson because of his long hair, and like that's Brent Burns because he's a freaking maniac. But like,
looks like a Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Well, and outside of that reverse retro the Sharks had, I have been in love with every even the stealth jerseys. I think look sharp. Like
they're fine, but they're just not as good as
the teal.
As the Heritage jerseys, and it's just
the Heritage are so good.
The Heritage looks sharp, and even your main homes and aways look so good. Like it's just the teal. Like I wish the Pistons would bring back the teal. And this isn't locked down Pistons, but
90% of the NHL has either red or blue, and
that's my argument with the Pistons.
Yeah, it's like the Coyote. God, could you imagine like the Kachina Coyotes jerseys with those the Heritage jerseys? Oh, like just how beautiful that would look on the ice. And why NHL? Why can't we do this? Just have some fun.
Oh, good. Have fun.
Yes. God forbid.
The NHL is also the no fun league.
Yes.
Much like the NFL and now the MLB. Wow. This is the only fun league left, the NBA.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I feel like it's been like that for a minute, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, my friends?
Yeah, I mean, I think Sharks, they have a pretty, after that Penguins game, it's like Red Wings, Sabres, Flyers again. So these are games if the Sharks really want to make a playoff push, like these are games that they need to try to stack some points in. But yeah, playing on the road, it's a long road trip like this. It's not easy. So
yeah, we're in a similar boat, right? Like our first two games back from the layoff were Boston and Washington. And so like now that and we got 0-2 comfortably in those games, and if same boat, if we want to actually maintain our kind of position as right outside the playoff picture now and try to get back in the mix, these are the kind of games. So that makes for fun hockey though. Two teams that need to get back on the horse named Friday.
Oh my God!
Gonna
there
be
it is
on a Tuesday.
There it is on a Tuesday. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Red Wings your first listen every day. Now check out Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. They're your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. It's free and available on all platforms. Make sure you subscribe to us, Locked On Red Wings, on YouTube, and our buddies at Locked On Sharks. And you can follow JD, and I meant to ask you this. You can follow him on Twitter at MyFryHole. Yep. And I'm sure there's a story behind that because
it's a Futurama reference.
Is it really? I watched
Fantastic
Futurama. How did
show.
I not know that? I'm whiffing on all these references these days.
Yeah,
Scotty.
it's a Futurama reference. So
yeah, you are, Brian.
Pop culture, I guess, is not my thing these days.
Pop culture from 20 years ago.
Seriously. Sayings from the 1800s that apparently Scotty's family held on to.
Dog. I promise.
Who rides in town on a horse? That's the question. It's 2022.
Dog, you want to talk about the origin of sayings? We say so much stuff that doesn't apply today. That means nothing. That is the worst argument you've had.
The one that always gets me is the stitch in time saves 9. What the hell does that even mean? Right?
My boss says that, and I don't know what she's saying.
What are they talking about?
Saves 9 stitches? Like
I guess.
What?
You just go, yes. Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
I'll get back to work.
Yes,
what you're saying is we got to be more efficient. Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back with a game recap for you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.
Every day.